you can have all sorts of different types of designs and things like that, but make sure there's like a through line in everything that you do. Like there should be a lot of consistency and no matter what you create, whether it be your marketing, whether you're doing product design, whether you're doing an interview and telling a story, like there needs to be a very strong commonality in everything you do. And that's like what branding is.
I do find that it's hard to really focus 100% on two things. So, like keeping your full time job and at the same time growing a business to the point where it's like, okay, I can live from that. So, I feel like it does require that decision of saying, like, okay, I'm going to do my leap. And at least I can tell that the moment I did that, everything started happening.
When you're like one person and you need to hire a second person, that person has to be so in line with what you're doing and also be really, really resourceful. Like that is the number one thing. Because if they're not resourceful, they could be doing shit all and you would even.
At least for me, one thing that has been key has been community groups on Facebook. That has been huge for me to really get out there, trying to add value into those community groups in a way that it's not just selling or just posting about your business.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Laura, and this is Ruffly Speaking, a podcast driven by honest, curious conversations about life with dogs.
Each episode, we explore one story or idea that helps us see our relationships with dogs a little differently.
It's not about perfect training or quick fixes. It's about the real, sometimes messy, always evolving nature of sharing life with dogs.
Okay, so this episode, I am so excited to talk about this episode. I don't know what that says about me and being in this business, but this is something we've been planning for quite a while. Like it's been on our mind to record this episode. I always say film because like I see you on camera, but I have to remember this is a podcast and people are
But
just
it's the
hearing
same.
it. It's the same.
Recording.
Film, record, you know what I mean. But we have been planning to record this one for so long because this is something we are so passionate about aside from doggies. So
Business nerds.
Yeah, exactly. We like to just nerd out about all things business and marketing and branding and social media and all that stuff. So what we did for this episode is, well, we wanted to answer so many different things about starting a small business because that is our experience. If you haven't heard our backgrounds, go listen to episode 2 and 3, is it?
2 and 3. Yeah.
Okay. 2 and 3 for both of our backgrounds in how we kind of got to where we are, what was our experience in marketing and branding and all that stuff. But we were like, this is going to be such a huge thing to tackle because there's just so much you could talk about in terms of starting your business, getting like all the legal things done, starting up a social media account, like literally you could spend hours on everything. So
And it could take very different paths.
yes. And knowing us, we would just go in every single direction and wouldn't stop talking for like 5 hours. So we thought, how about we just culminate a bunch of questions, ask our audience if they have questions too about this topic of business, marketing, branding, and we'll just pull them from a mug and answer as we go. So yeah, it's really cute. If you're not watching on YouTube, it's a doggy mug. So there is no rhyme or reason to the way this conversation is going to flow. We're just going to pull some questions, share our experience with each of these questions and how we would go about kind of sharing advice or answering them and kind of give you some key takeaways and tips. Not only that, we'll share some resources as well, some business resources that we will link in our show notes or descriptions, so you guys can check that out too. So if you guys are on the verge of starting your own business, thinking about starting your own business, don't know how to get into it, want to start something, don't know where to start, this episode is going to be for you.
Yes, and also like big thank you to like the people who participated and like share all these amazing questions. I was so happy that we actually got to see where people heads are at, from people who already have a business and are hoping to grow that business and people who are just getting started. It was very nice to hear from like what's going on inside of your minds, what you're wondering about. So we have them here, and yeah, just like Olivia said, we're just gonna start pulling questions and just replying to that. We're gonna try to focus on like sharing like each of our experiences with that topic and then try to pull it into a takeaway. So let's trust our minds that we'll be able to do that connection. But at least there's gonna be some good takeaways. And I think like at the end of the day, at least for me, just hearing the experience of someone else dealing with certain topic just gives you at least like a starting point, or like, yeah, like at least for me it has always been super helpful when people tell me their own stories and how they've like struggled, even if it's a completely different business, because in our case is like a service-based business. And we do have a couple questions from a product based business, which I'm sure is going to be, a tiny bit different here and there. But I think, like, just in general, hearing how other people are going about it, maybe give you another thing to think about. So, yay! Should I start pulling into the
Well,
couple of the
let's do
questions?
it. Pull into the
Ooh, I'm
doggy
gonna.
cauldron.
And I mean, you'll see how I'm gonna have to show it because people cannot see. But like our post-its are even like on the branding colors. So I'm very excited. So like one came out, so I'm gonna start with that one. And it says, okay, so this one is about balancing a full-time job with growing your own business, which I feel like that is something that you are gonna have a bit more to say about it because you were more in that range. So I don't know, why don't you start with that one?
Oh, yeah. This one is really tough because I think it all depends on what you value personally. So for me, if you listen to my episode, I talked about how I was very conscious about wanting to be stable in a lot of my adult life and really crave stability, and having that for about like 10 years before I got into dog training. So stability was really important for me, but also at some point, I was like, I'm okay to kind of step outside of my comfort zone and take a little bit of risk and not have this like really stable income coming all the time. But I know there's also the side of balancing time, commitments, seeing how that fits into your daily life. So this question is really dependent on each person and kind of like what your lifestyle is and how you want to transition things in a way. So it's kind of hard to answer very generally, but from experience, what I did was I had a full-time job. So I was working at the beauty brand, and I knew that job for me was coming to an end. So I started putting the puzzle pieces in place to at least dip my toes into the doggy world. I wasn't sure what that was going to be entirely, but I knew I wanted to work with dogs in some capacity. So, if you have an idea, it's probably a better place to start. So, at least you can reach out to some people and kind of figure it out. But for me, what I initially did was I actually joined some Facebook groups. So, there is this Facebook group called Aspiring Professional Trainers for Women or something, like Dog Trainers for Women. I can't remember the exact title. But I joined that group and I was kind of just like sleuthing through the group and like seeing what other people's experiences was and hearing what they had done. Because again, for me, like you were saying earlier, it helps to hear what other people have done to help you make your own decision. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just reach out to a couple trainers locally and see where that leads me. Again, I'm not looking for anything specific, but maybe there's an opportunity here. And it happened to be that there was an opportunity to volunteer with a local trainer. So that's initially how I got started. And then I started layering that into my schedule to make sure that everything was still doable for me. Cause again, you don't want to burn out. That's like one of the worst things you could do. Um, so I started doing that, and then my job came to an end. So for me, I had to transition into kind of like a transitional job or a temporary job. So I took on a job that I knew wasn't going to be full-time hours. So I wasn't going to be working 40 hours a week. It was more like 25 to 30. And then I could also layer in those other gigs or volunteer work or other things that would be more doggy related. So that's how I kind of approached it. Is I dipped my toes a little bit just to see what was out there, reached out to a couple people, talked to them, see what was kind of their experience. And then when my job did come to an end, I took on a smaller role that obviously wasn't paying as much and didn't
Hmm.
involve as much responsibility on my part because I knew if I got too committed to something, I would be too in it and then I would get stuck.
Hmm.
So just understanding yourself and where that could lead you. So taking on a smaller role and then taking on more side gigs for doggy stuff. Did that answer the
Hmm.
question?
I think so. I mean, it's all about like balancing full time job with growing business, and I think like it just takes. It depends, just like you said. It depends on like what you're looking for. If you want to continue your side gig, kind of like keep both things. I feel like that is a bit of like a hard thing to do, and at least for me, I kind of like follow a similar path as Olivia. So like in my case, I knew I wanted to start. Like I had my whole idea of Curious Newts and like like how I wanted to do it, what I wanted to focus on, and I had a full-time job back then working at a doggy daycare. So I kept that until I had like a very clear idea. I remember I started like building the business of like, okay, it's going to be like the concept and the name and just kind of like deciding to actually get started. And then when I had to kind of like finally start putting all those pieces together, what I did is that I quit my doggy job, who like that one. I really liked it, but it was time to kind of like move on from that. And also because in that job I was an assistant manager, so it was kind of like, well, I think like back then I kind of like went back to like shift supervisor because I was also planning on this kind of like slowly transitioning back and not being so committed and not having to do so many hours or all those things that come with like more of like a managerial role. So I was already in that path of like decreasing my responsibilities to do that slow transition. And then when I was ready, I quit that job and got like a part time job as a server. So that is what really got me to have a lot more time for me to build my business and fully focus on that until I was ready to launch. And even when I launched my business, I was still like working in that part time job because the hours were perfect. I was working in the evenings and everything in my business was going to be like in the mornings and afternoons. So it worked very well, and it was until I got to a point where I had like a few clients and I was able to kind of like start paying myself that I decided to quit that job. So I think it's really having that plan in place of like, okay, if you do want to transition from your full-time job into your business, just having that plan of how to slowly stepping away. I know that for some people are able to continue their job and just start cutting hours, and maybe keeping that going for a little bit longer. So I think like just having that plan. I do find that it's hard to really focus 100% on two things. So like keeping your full-time job and at the same time growing a business to the point where it's like, okay, I can live from that. So I feel like it does require that decision of saying like, okay, I'm gonna do my leap. And at least I can tell that the moment I did that, everything started happening. And I feel like also the, I don't know, like the hunger aspect of it, of like knowing that now you have to get this thing going. Because if you have that safety net of like, okay, I have this full time job, I have to do this thing, it's is you know like it's easy to continue to procrastinate. Oh, like this project, I'll do it next month, and you can like keep doing it like that. So I think like one time I read, I don't know if anyone knows Marie Forleo. But when I was putting together my business, I read her book, which is called "Everything Is Figure Outable," and just listening a lot of her podcast, and she was saying that like you really have to kind of like jump and do that thing where you kind of like commit to this and have that risk of like, oh, am I going to be able to like pay my bills in like 3 months because maybe you have some savings. So the fact that you have to push yourself to do that makes you kind of like get into the groove of actually like building that business to the point that you can actually live from that. So I think it's kind of like that balance of like creating a sustainable plan so you don't just fully jump into the dream without having anything to sustain you. Because I also feel it's important to keep your passion. If you're truly passionate about like this new project or whatever your business is going to be, I feel like keeping that passion and not letting like the financial burden like burn out your dream or your excitement for the business is important. So I think like just balancing those things and creating a plan, like maybe like for a year, say like, okay, in 3 months, I want to be at this point so I can transition to like this job and then, like these hours. So I feel like that is good to have like that long-term plan, but at the same time, don't just jump into your dream with no cushion, because then you risk burning out and kind of like just putting that pressure for your business to go well, and then you forget about what you actually love. So it's a little tricky, but I feel like that's how I would put it.
No, I love that because I think it really also depends on what your goals are for your business. Like some people just want a side hustle or a side gig, whereas other people are like, no, this is my passion. I want to do this full time. So, like, if you're okay doing it as a side gig, sure, you can set some hours aside every week and do it. But you also have to be really mindful of burnout because I've been burnt out so many times. And it's not fun when you get to that point because then you don't want to do your full time job or you don't want to do your passion
Hmm.
projects. So then it's just like, it just becomes too overwhelming, so you just be very mindful of, like, how much responsibility you're taking on and what is your limit. Because if you don't know what your limit is, it happens so quickly.
And I think like this just reminded me of like when you were at that point where you were working on your part-time job, and then you were like taking walks for curious
Mm,
nudes, and you were planning like everything for Olive Bark. So just having three things at a time, it was like way too much, and that's where you decided to, okay, like fully committing into doggies. And I remember when
yeah.
you said like I gave my 2 week notice, and it was just like, ah, this is so scary.
I'm also that type of person that's like, I put 150% into everything I do, so I can't be, like, divided 3 ways, it's just too much for me. So even, like, just having 2 things, I'm like, "Okay, this is my max, I'm good." But yeah, like, it's what you said, you need kind of that, like, that fire in your belly to be able to, like, really push your business forward, and it's hard to do that when you are divided in so many directions, but
Hmm.
if this is like your thing that you want to do for the rest of your life, sometimes you just have to take that leap and be like, okay, now I have to sustain myself. I have to do this on my own, and there is no other option. But, and like, I know it's a scary thing, but you can do it.
Yes, exactly. Like just keep it safe, but like at the same time, do it. So, okay,
Yeah.
so that was the part with balancing the full time job situation. So now we have, okay, unique marketing and growth strategies. So anything in that point that you want to share? I feel like it's tricky because I feel like we are all looking for that kind of like a unique way to communicate. So I think we're all in that same path.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I know everybody's looking for that secret sauce that just makes them go viral or that everybody hears about them. And I don't think there is a I don't think there's a unique strategy to really help market yourself. But what I think you do really well, Laura, and hopefully me too, is putting a lot of your personal authenticity and uniqueness out there as a strategy because there are so many different social media strategies and things you could do online that you can literally copy and paste and take someone's trend and do all these things the exact same way and just kind of make it your own. But at the end of the day, it's kind of boring and people don't want to see that. And what
Hmm.
people are kind of buying into is a lot of what you have to say and what your experience is and you as a person and if you're relatable to them because you don't have to sell to everybody. That's not the goal here, right? You just have to sell to the people that will relate with you. And there's a huge market in each of our own types of people. So I
Hmm.
think the best strategy is to be unique and put yourself out there. And if maybe you're not comfortable putting yourself out there and being on camera and talking on camera, find a different way. Maybe you really like putting together, like, I don't know, quick tidbits about like research and facts and stuff. And maybe that's your way to share it. And you can just like, do a graphic or something and you don't have to share your face. But I think there is a unique strategy for everybody, but play to what your strengths are and what you like
Hmm.
doing and sharing a bit of that authenticity of yourself in your strategy, I think is the best way to go about it. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. And I think like, yeah, like at the end of the day is like no one is more unique than like yours. Like we are unique, like all as humans. So I feel like for the longest of times I was looking outside for like, oh, how to do this, and like ideas and blah blah blah. But I think like at the end of the day, once I started focusing, and I think like that's something I say very often, like once you focus on you and like what you love, what like why you started your business, like your very personal story. How did you came into that? The reality is that out there, like we're unique in so many ways, but at the same time, our struggles and the things that led us to start our business, or like the thing we I don't know, like that connected with us. If you are kind of like going inside and really understanding like what got you in there, there's more people out there who also are going through those things, like those struggles. So I think like at the end of the day, like the more you can go and understand yourself and be yourself outside, like just showing up like you would, not like the other person is doing and trying to copy, like whatever I don't know, like the competitors are doing, like look more into yourself and what makes you unique. Try to understand yourself and what got you into it and what you are passionate about in this business or whatever industry you are choosing, and then just super focus on that. And I think like that is going to lead to something unique, because it's your like mix of experiences is going to lead to something very you, but that at the same time is going to serve other people, like if you just focus on like whatever added value to your life, and like now you're trying to share with everyone else. So yeah, I think like that's what I would say.
And like you mentioned before, we're kind of speaking through a lens of a service-based business, and this is going to be very different for a product-based business.
Mhm,
I worked in a product business for about 8 years, so I totally understand that's like completely different ball game. But think of it this way: it's kind of like a lifestyle marketing. So if you think about why people are so obsessed with like celebrities and the things that they sell, and just celebrity culture, like because you're buying kind of into like their lifestyle, even though that might not be their like complete personal lifestyle, but maybe you like their personality or what projects they do. It's kind of like the same thing, right? Like you're putting a little bit of yourself out there to kind of present this lifestyle that you want other people to gravitate towards. And with like a product business, you're going to do that in other ways through your marketing. So it might not be you necessarily, but your marketing might focus around that kind of lifestyle that you want to present for your product. So, and like product businesses kind of get complicated in that sense because you have like different tiers of products. Is it luxe? Is it mid-range? Is it like more accessible? What kind of lifestyle are you focusing on? How does that look like in terms of branding and photography? And where do you want to see your product being sold? And, it gets really
mhm,
convoluted and everything, but think of it that way. Like, just what kind of lifestyle are you presenting out to your potential customers? And what does that look like in terms of, your social media, your story, your values, your mission? Like, it bleeds through everything. So I think
mhm.
that was a very convoluted way to go about unique strategy.
And I would say like something like I've been hearing, someone that I've been hearing a lot from is Seth Godin. So I don't know if everyone has heard, like he wrote a book called like Purple Cow, and he really special, like, yeah, he focuses a lot on talking about like strategy and like what really marketing is all about. And what he says is that, like you really have to define very clearly kind of like the person that you are going for. So like, for example, if you make, I know that someone wrote to us who has a bandana business. So, like, okay, what type of bandanas, like is it, because I used to have a client and like they have so many bandanas for their two dogs, and every single time they have like matching bandanas. So one time it was like a Batman one and the other dog had like Superman. And then they were always like making like super cool things. So there's clearly a market for bandanas. And then just understand, like, are you going for the person who really wants to be, colorful and different, or like someone who goes for something more elegant and blah, blah, blah. So, like you defining all of those and really focusing on that person, like on selling to that person that probably it's you, because if you started your business of bandanas, maybe you had a dog and you wanted the dog with like a certain design that you couldn't find otherwise. So like that's what I mean when it's like, okay, think back of like, why did you start it? What was the need that pushed you to do this? And how can you go outside and look people who have the same issue, and then like talk to them. And I think like that is going to make it unique, because it's going to be to like a very specific audience. And I think like it's what you said, Olivia, that don't try to sell to everyone, because I feel like that is like something like it's so easy to do, of just trying to like capture everyone in the market. But it's just like, no, the more narrow you go, the more clearly you're going to communicate to like that person. And going back to like, that's going to make it unique for both
Yeah.
your marketing and your growth.
I think
Hmm.
it's like, if you ever take like a marketing certificate or go into like some sort of marketing school, they always make you do this exercise where it's like, make your ideal client profile, and you create like all these different profiles of like what your ideal client is, and it'll be like Cindy in the suburb, she's 42, this is her income, this is the thing she's interested, and like that exercise seems really dumb at first, but if you do that, it actually kind of helps you narrow in of like, okay, who am I selling to? Like, who do I want to sell to? And what are they actually going to like from my services or my product? And just like what you said, like with the bandana business, like you can have all sorts of different types of designs and things like that, but make sure there's like a through line in everything that you do. Like there
Mm-hmm.
should be a lot of consistency, and no matter what you create, whether it be your marketing, whether you're doing product design, whether you're doing an interview and telling a story, like there needs to be a very strong commonality in everything you do. And that's like what branding is just being very consistent with it. So if your bandanas have like really cute chibi anime characters and like that's the vibe you're going through, you probably don't want another bandana that's like plaid and two-toned and two colors. Like those are two very different things. You can still make one feel like very high-end and luxury and one more like affordable or whatever, but still be within that same kind of branding
Mm-hmm.
element. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even, I think we just answered a completely different question.
But I hope it said something. So we're gonna just keep on going, just hoping something makes sense in here. I'm gonna go for the other one, and this
We're
one
just
is
rambling for the best here.
okay, here goes. So, how to connect with your community to get your name out there slash networking. So, actually, for this one, I'm gonna take in because this has been a big focus of mine, and I've been reflecting about this a lot. And I think like it was so hard for me. Like I know, like in the beginning, you just wanna yeah, just like we said, like you really want to just connect with everything and want to do, like be everywhere. But I think, like, at least for me, one thing that has been key has been community groups on Facebook. That has been huge for me to really get out there and just put my business in there. And I think, like, I see, like, there's like normally when you have like a community group, you have, like a day where they allow you to post and something that I see with people is that either they do the same post every week and they just kind of like just I feel like sometimes you can just make it tiring for someone to just see you all the time saying the same thing. But like I feel trying to add value into those community groups in a way that it's not just selling or just posting about your business. So, for example, one way that I did this of like connecting with my community, because in my personal case, I used to live here in New West for like maybe 4 years. No, wait. No, like 3 years I was living here in New West before I started my business. But I was working in Vancouver. I was studying in Vancouver. So my life was very outside of my community because I was just kind of like coming here to sleep, eat, and then I would go and like work in a different city. So I didn't know anyone in my community. I wasn't like connected with, like my neighbors and what is going on in like the business world. Like I was very disattached from that. But like when I started connecting with these groups was when I started to study to become a dog trainer. And I decided to reach out to my community to find doggies that I could train, kind of like someone to let me borrow their dog and practice my training with them. So, like, that made me kind of like it wasn't like me trying to sell something. It was just like, hey, so I need my community this way. So I'm going to reach out and see what happens. And you can have like a little taste of like how your particular community is. I know that there's some communities that are like kind of very involved and they all help each other, and there may be other ones who are more like less engaged. So you'll have a little feel, but like you're doing it kind of like more as a neighbor rather than just kind of like coming in and want people to buy from you. So I think like connecting in a way that feels genuine and that you kind of like are putting yourself out there, like if someone looks about doggies, it's gonna pop up because oh, this girl is studying to be a dog trainer and like she's looking for these things. So it's not like I'm fully looking for like that sale, but it's really kind of like looking to connect with people. If you're studying something or you maybe are testing out, going back to this bandana example, which I think it's cool to have at least one example of like a different thing. So like if you are testing out, I don't know, like designs, you can just poll people and say like, hey, so I'm doing, like these designs. Can you vote which one you like? Like this type of engagement that it's not only selling, or if you're studying a certification and maybe you need a dog, because I know someone else who commented are doing like body work with dogs. And it's like, if you need doggies, like post in the community and kind of like connect with people in that way, where it's like a help that, like they help you and you help them. And I think like little like by little, you'll start building relationships again, like coming from that very genuine place, and not just doing one ad that you just repeat every week. And that's kind of like the only way they hear from you.
You are the queen of community building, so I will take any advice you have to give. And I agree with that totally, because like it drives me nuts when I see like, because I'm a part of so many Facebook groups and community groups, and it drives me nuts when I see the same goddamn post every single week by the same person. And I'm like, we get it, Jenny, you're walking dogs.
And that was the same picture every single week.
Yeah, and it's just like it just feels like you're just trying to sell, whereas like the approach you're taking, it feels very like you just want to connect with the community. It shouldn't feel like you're selling anything, because when you are just reaching out and trying to connect in strange, magical ways, this is how people will come back to you and actually buy into your business. Like you'll have people come back like months later and be like, oh, I heard about you from so and so, and they told me that they saw you on Facebook group, whatever. And then that's how those connections are built. So it's hard to track because there is no way of tracking it. But I have noticed by just doing some of the stuff that you were saying that most of my clients just came through me because of people that I've met or people that I've connected with or networked with. And it's just one of the most beautiful things, especially for service-based businesses, because you have something that's very local. Because product-based business, a little bit different because you're trying to reach a wider audience and be more global, if that's your thing, or national. But if you're a service-based business, it's really important that you kind of zero in on the locality of it.
And like now going into like the networking, the other thing I want to say is that at least for me, I found it like very useful. Like number one, like I think one thing that I did was like from the get-go, when I like even before I actually launched my business, I started volunteering at my local animal shelter. So like getting into the people in that way, where it's just like I am adding to my community, like I am, because I was like, okay, I'm doing enrichment walks. Like who can benefit from those? Like most, it's like, well, the shelter dogs. And it's kind of like a win-win. I connected with them who are like the shelter in my city is kind of like run by the city. So it's kind of like you get to know people just by doing the thing, by kind of like doing your little contribution in that moment. It was easier for me to contribute with my time, so I did that, and I got to meet like awesome people, and then I volunteer in like events that made me get to know like people from like vet clinics or like stores in here. So it's kind of like just doing like giving a little to the community, honestly, like gives back so much. And also joining, at least for me, joining my like local chamber of commerce, like that really helped me kind of like put myself out there. It also helped me in terms of SEO because, like they link you, and I had an opportunity through them to do really cool things. Like, for example, there's this university like very close to where I live, Douglas College, and they once like reach out to the Chamber of Commerce because from one class they needed to do a, like a project, like digital marketing project for a business, and the teacher, like the professor asked them to do kind of like from like a real business, which I thought it was like so cool, because sometimes, like in school, they make you do like, oh yeah, study Disney or like these huge companies that you're so far away and you have no idea what the real struggles are because they're like corporations. So I thought it was so interesting that this professor like really told them like, you need to find a local business to help, like do this project too, because that's going to contribute to their business in a, like a more effective way. And then you're also going to have that experience of actually working with business owners. So the Chamber of Commerce sent them to me, and they did their project like based on like my business. They analyzed my analytics and all those things. So it was just like such a win-win. And I am so happy that they found me because of the Chamber of Commerce. So I think like joining these things and going to certain like networking events, like it may seem like, but like if you are again like the service business is like so local, that it's so nice to get to know people that way, especially if, like me, you haven't connected with your community. Maybe you have lived in the same city for ages and everyone knows you, but in my case that wasn't the case. So that's kind of like the big thing that really helped me at least get to know some people out there, even if they're not from the doggy world, just connected with other business owners and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. Like asking people out for coffee.
That's how I met
Was
Olivia.
Yeah, literally. Like, I think for us, it's like stalk them a little bit first on like Instagram, their website, their socials. See if they're like your vibe. Cause like you don't want to just connect
Mhm,
with anybody. You want to connect with people that align with you and your vision and like what you're trying to achieve with your business. So, like, do a little bit of stalking, scope them out, see if they're kind of align with you, and then just ask them out for coffee. Make it like really, not like there's no pressure like, "Hey, I just wanna take you out for coffee. I wanna pick your brain. Do you mind, like, meeting
mhm,
up? I can come to you." Like, make it super easy for them because if you want to learn more about the industry that you're going into or whatever business or like, niche that you're going into, it's good to just connect with people and see what information they can share with you and what you can share with them because you just don't know who other people know and it starts to like
mhm,
spider web out really fast. So that
mhm.
was like one of the best things I did was just like meeting up for coffee with Laura and then meeting up for coffee with like this other sitter. And I'm doing it again next week actually, and I'm gonna go see some horses next week.
Oh, fun.
Because I know. So I think it's just really good if you're like a little bit hesitant about like going to like big networking meetings or like
Mhm,
going to like community events and maybe that's a little too much for you because I know a lot of this is also very anxiety inducing if you're not
mhm,
comfortable putting yourself out there. Is just connect one on one with someone to start, see
mhm,
where that leads you. They might actually know somebody or they might be going to something that you can tag along with. You just never know where all these connections
mhm,
will lead you.
mhm. Yeah, go for quality instead of quantity, and I think like that is always a good way to go about it. All right, so
Yes.
let's do one more thing here. Okay, so the next question is, okay, tips to make it easier to keep branding consistent on stories. And I think like this question was very specific about stories, but I think like at the end of the day, it's gonna be general for everything that you put out here. So Olivia, do you have
Yes.
anything in there? I know that you have a lot to add in that sense.
Okay, so first of all, tips for making things easier. I think have okay, well, let's go back.
Way back.
Well, for me, I needed to have like all my branding visuals done first before I could start marketing and putting things out. What does that look like? I mean, depending on your budget, what you know yourself, how much you can do yourself, how resourceful you are, or if you know friends that can help you, that generally looks like a branding deck essentially. So, a branding
Hmm.
deck is all the elements that will be incorporated into your business and your brand. So what the visuals look like, what colors you're going to use, what fonts you're going to use. If that sounds really overwhelming, just start really simple. Have your basic logo or whatever you're starting out with. Pick 3 colors maybe that you really like that complement each other. Pick 2 fonts and that will be kind of your essential brand deck.
Hmm.
Um, and then for me, what helped was maybe Instagram doesn't have the font that you want or the exact color you want or any of
Hmm.
that stuff. But you can pick things that are very similar and just continue to use those same things every single time. So for me, I have a brand deck where I have specific hex codes, Pantone colors, CMYK stuff that I can pick my colors from. I have specific fonts that I could use. And if you're looking specifically for stories and how to keep that consistent, make sure you're just using the same fonts all the time
Hmm.
and the way you stylize those fonts. So if you have like I don't even know what those fonts are called. I just see them in my head.
Yeah, like I know the poster one because that's the one I
Okay,
use.
that you use post. I don't even know what the one is. I call it's like the very
I think
slim
deco.
one.
I
Okay,
think yours is deco or something like that.
you have such a good like memory. I have like no memory at all.
You have to
So
see
just
it.
yeah, just be consistent with those. And then for me, what I actually have for my branding colors is I have a picture with all the colors on it, and then I put that on my phone, and every time I want to change, like, my fonts or even draw on my stories with that color, I will use the add a photo,
Mhm.
sticker thing in stories and upload my little slide of all my colors, and then I will just, like, use the dropper to, like, select those colors and change my fonts or, like, change the little
Mhm.
draw pen tool or whatever. So that's how I stay consistent. It takes a little bit more work, like, it takes an extra 5
Mhm.
seconds every single time, but I think it's worth it because then everything is just always the same and it's, like, super memorable. So, like, when I'm going through someone's stories and I see, like, purple and yellow pop up, I'm like, "Oh, snooze, snooze, snooze."
Who could that be?
Yeah, who is that? So for me, I think it's just like having a very clear vision of what your like branding deck is and always going back to that and not changing it very often. Like if you're going to change it, maybe like you could do a once a year refresh or something, but just
Mhm.
really make sure that what you're picking is what you love and then just continually using that for consistency.
Yeah, I think like yeah, totally. I feel like that's the same, and I know that a lot of people is just like, do I have to really hire someone to do my branding deck for that? And I think like no, like it really just like Olivia said, like it depends on like you and how you work. At least in my case, like branding and having this branding deck done for me was the literally the first investment I did in my business
Same.
because I had exactly that's how you start. And in my case, it had like two ways of working. Like number one was kind of like the commitment. I think like if whenever I put something together myself, I'm constantly hesitating and I always feel like I can improve that. And I used to manage social media for another business. It was a restaurant and they didn't have any branding done. Like the colors that they used at the restaurant were different than the ones on the website and like the menu. So everything was all over the place. So in my case, it was so tricky because I would constantly be changing the fonts on Instagram. So it was sometimes I would use this one and sometimes this one, but it was like it was all this mix and match, which I knew wasn't correct in that moment. Like I mean, for that restaurant, they didn't have anything. So like something is better than like nothing. But in my case, from the beginning, it was like I know myself. If I set up something, I'm gonna continue to change that, and I'm gonna believe that I can improve that. And I think like if you can just commit, like just choose like Olivia said, like maximum three colors, and that's gonna be it. You can maybe change your logo later or like this or that, but just really commit to those colors. In my case, I knew that was gonna be hard for me, so I prefer to just invest that. And I think like also mentally for me, the fact that I actually invested money on this made kind of like that had that consequential like result that now I had to see my business more seriously, and it was just like I already invested on this, so it was kind of like that some cost fallacy that you already invested on something, you have to keep working on it. So for me, just having to pay someone to do this made me take that branding very seriously. It was also like something that made me very happy because I was kind of like fully sold into this whole branding deck situation. So I think like that helped me just stay consistent and say like these are the colors, these are the like the icons. I don't have to be playing around. So that was for me how it worked. So yeah, if you don't want to hire, you don't want to invest that right now, just commit to your colors. And it's really, it doesn't matter really like those details of like, oh, is this blue or like more teal or blah blah blah. It's just like just choose them and then don't think about it. Like just think about more things. Just don't think about your colors again because it really doesn't matter that much. It just matters that you are consistent with that. So yeah, like just try to aim for that. And I think like that's, you're going to be fine. Just be consistent.
That's so true about what you said about like, oh, if I do it myself, I just feel like I just need to continually change it to make it better. And like, I'm the exact same way. And I kid you not, even like yesterday, I was looking at my stuff and I'm like, should I change that to make it better? Even though I had like everything's already done for me. Like, everything is set. But like, I still have those moments where I'm like, maybe I need to change that to make it better. And I'm like, nope, don't need to change it. Let's not waste time on it. Like, it's fine the way it is. Like, it is important, but like, people aren't going to care that much if you change the font just a little bit, like to make
Hmm.
it better. Like, it's not worth it. And for me to just continually go through it in my mind over and over again, Like, it's just not worth the time. So I'm always battling that. So yeah, just stay committed to what you pick and just
Mhm.
trust the process. And then maybe in a year, if you want to revisit it, then you can revisit it and take a look. But really just really hunker down, commit to it, and that's your stuff. But I do want to I want to drop some numbers just because I feel like whenever we talk about finances, which is a really big pet peeve of mine, is that people are
Mhm.
really secretive about finances. And like,
Mhm.
yes, there should be to some extent, but I am always appreciative of when people share the cost of things
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
when you're
Mhm.
starting out, you just don't know and you always have to do all these inquiries to find out and things like that. So for total transparency, the cost of me doing my branding deck, like getting the logo done, getting all the colors right, getting the illustration done of like my little dog Darwin and stuff, and having all the files, like all the like it's a neat branding deck. I have all the PNGs for every sort of primary, secondary, tertiary logo, all sorts of different colors, a few other graphic elements. So just for transparency, the amount I paid for my branding deck was about $1,000.
Mhm.
To some
Mhm.
people, that is going to be really steep and be like, I can't afford that right now. Totally understandable, especially if you're
Mhm.
starting out with your business and you like have $0 to your business. Like, I get it. Start out small. Do it yourself if you can on like Canva, or if you have a friend that's a little bit well versed in like graphic design, get maybe they can help you. I have comments about getting friends to do things for you. But you could start out that way, but for me it just made sense because I had the income to be able to do that from my other jobs and be able to invest in this early on. So it made sense for me. It made my life 1,000 times easier. So it just do what works for you. And sometimes it could be really like some people could charge up to 5 grand for something like this.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
I got a pretty good deal out of it.
Mhm. And we
So
got like our branding done with the same girl. So
yes.
I pay the same. So the exact same that I paid. And yeah, like I think it was like I always tell Valentina, who is both of our designers, that I think like she is in the scale of like from all the designers, she is on the more affordable side. And she does specialize in like like small business entrepreneurs, people who are just starting out, and especially like women in like small
Hmm.
women entrepreneurs. So like if you want to check her out, like I will link in the we'll leave her link in the description. But yeah, like you can look around. There's so many different options. At least for me, it was also funny because like my brother-in-law, he is a graphic designer himself, so he did offer to do it. But I personally knew exactly the vision that I wanted, and I wanted my logo to be like bubbly and like colorful and round. And I mean, I love my brother-in-law, but he is more like serious and like kind of like dark, and yeah, like he's like a lot more like in that line, in like that side of design. So I knew that like for me, I reach out to Valentina because I knew that her way of designing and like her natural style was very aligned to what I wanted. So I think like that's another part. Like always take a look, see at the work that they've done. It's kind of like when you get a tattoo and like you check out the tattoos that they're doing. That really gives you an idea of like what their strengths are, and if that connects with you. So I think like just check out their designer, or if it's your friend, just check out what do they normally design, because they will go into that similar line. So yeah, like just I think like once you understand exactly what you're looking for, and again, that's why my advice is always like figure out yourself, like what are you looking for, and then go out there and find someone who aligns. Because if you're looking for a designer and then you're expecting them to tell you what you should do, I think like that is like a recipe for like you know, not feeling satisfied with your yeah, your branding at the end and having to change. Because I've had that, people who actually invest the money and they're still not satisfied with what they have. So like just know what you're looking for and try to find someone who aligns in that, whether that's a friend or a designer or whatever. And yeah, but go from there and stay consistent.
I have 2 more points. Sorry, we got into branding, and so I have 2 more points to add. It's gonna be impossible for us to get through all these questions. So, first, if you have no idea where to start, I would suggest going to Pinterest and making like a board for yourself and just like scrolling through different ideas and like pinning what you like. And then you'll start to see kind of some consistency throughout them. And you can send that to your designer, whoever you're working with, to give them a better
Mhm.
idea of like the elements that you want, what you want it to look like, what the vibe is. I feel like mood boards are really helpful for that.
Mhm.
Secondly, working with a friend, somebody you know, a relative, I don't recommend it because if this is someone I feel like as close as you can be to this person, there's gonna be some butting heads about design and creativity because you have a specific vision, this person has a specific vision, and you're both gonna think you know what's best. And especially when it comes
Mhm.
to be have an existing relationship with this person, it's gonna be harder for you to tell them what exactly you want, and you might not entirely be happy with what they deliver. Because it takes a couple rounds to get some of this stuff right if you're working with a designer, and if you're not very clear about your vision, and if you're not clear in communicating that to the person, or if you're worried you might step on some toes and offend them and things like that, it can be really tricky. Not only that, but if you are getting a friend to do it and maybe they're doing it as a favor to you, or maybe they're doing it for really cheap, that could be a really iffy area because
Mhm.
then you don't really have the right to be like, okay, I need this
Picky.
by Monday
Mhm.
because they're doing you
Mhm.
a favor, right? So for me, I always like to just let's keep it really business professional. Let me
Mhm.
go somewhere else. I have friends who are designers too, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna do it 'cause I just don't even wanna get into that weird area of me telling you what to do and, like, I'm, like, paying you 50% of what you should be getting paid, or you're doing
Mhm.
it as a favor for me and I'm rushing you. So I feel like there's just a lot
Mhm.
of, like, weird spots that something like that could fall into if you're getting somebody like a friend or family doing it for you. Personally, that's what I
Mhm.
think.
Mhm, mhm. No, I totally agree, and that's why I also kind of like when, like in this case, I knew Valentina, but we weren't like super like we worked together, like when we were working at the restaurant. But like it was funny because yeah, like I never thought we would have like kind of like that working relationship. And like right now, she is the one who's doing my website, like redesign. So it's funny now how we ended up working so well together. But I think it's also because we weren't that close. We knew each other,
Mhm,
but we weren't like super, super close. So they weren't like feelings involved. So like I don't want to
mhm.
like it was always very professional. So yeah, like know yourself, know your friends, and from there decide like do you want to go into this or not. But I feel like it's always better to keep it in the professional realm. I want to say. So yeah, I think like we're gonna continue with the same questions because it's like we want to get into them. Then okay, this is an easy one. What do we use for editing our videos? And for this one, I have to say, like mine is super easy. I honestly use Instagram. Like, that is my go-to. I edit all of my videos. I downloaded edits to kind of like use that. But honestly, at the end of the day, I just use the Instagram app and that's all I do. Every now and then I need to, I don't know, like blur a face or something like that. And I ask my husband because he does edit on in like a more professional editing software. But the reality is I think like 99% of all my videos I just edit it on the Instagram app.
Mine, I use edits, and then sometimes I'll mix edits with Instagram, and then
Mhm.
sometimes if
And
I'm feeling a
TikTok.
bit I
Every
don't
now
use
and then I miss
TikTok.
TikTok. Really? Like for
I
me,
don't
for like
use TikTok.
captions, sometimes the captions are iffy on Instagram and like they don't want to change or like they're acting funny. So sometimes I use TikTok because the captions are like the voiceover. Sometimes I find it easier. And actually, that's why I post on TikTok because I sometimes just edit the videos and I have to upload
Mm,
them so I can
mhm.
download them and then post them on Instagram. So that's the only reason I have TikTok, to be honest. But yeah, like I just play around with those two.
I feel like every platform has its own glitches, so you just gotta figure out what glitch you're willing to deal with and what works for you.
Hmm.
But yeah, edits, a little bit of Instagram, and if I'm feeling fancy, I'll use iMovie on my desktop,
So
which is
yeah,
not
but
even
we
that
keep it very
fancy.
yeah, it's just like it's the easy thing. So yeah, like that's what we use. Like I'm sure like there's people who do better videos, but I feel like I cannot invest time understanding all those
Me either.
softwares, so I just use the app.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Look at that, so quickly for that one. Okay, so I have is paid advertising worth it for local pet businesses in Canada?
I think it depends what paid
Mm-hmm.
advertising you're looking into. Like if you're looking to just boost a post on Instagram or Facebook or something, I don't think it's necessarily going to get you that much
Mm-hmm.
click through.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're unsure of like what your call to action is, your CTA, or if you're unsure of what graphic to use. I feel like boosted posts kind of get you more views than anything rather than people clicking
Mm-hmm.
through to purchase or sign up. But if you have a proper system in place with like marketing funnels and you have, this is like if you're working with a marketing agency or something that could do like testing, like A/B testing, and have the whole system in place where you have like a CRM system involved and you have like everything connected, then like paid advertising can work really well that way with like Google ads and stuff, but it really
Mm-hmm.
depends on how you do it. And I don't think a lot of small businesses would be doing it the latter way that I explained with the whole system and the marketing funnels and everything. So personally, I don't really love using paid ads. I like to go more the organic way,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do outreach, especially because we're so local in our service
Mm-hmm.
based businesses that I don't need to go viral. I don't want to go viral. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not really, it doesn't really do anything for me as a service based business in Port Coquitlam to be reaching people in Toronto or New York or LA. So,
And I feel like one time I did like kind of like I actually did a post kind of like thinking for it to be an ad when I was just getting started. And at least for me, like on Facebook or Instagram, like my service area was so tiny that like it wasn't even worth it. Like I was gonna reach maybe like I don't know, like 70 people in like my whole thing. And like yeah, like it didn't make sense. I didn't get like I did it like a super tiny investment just to test it out. I didn't get any clients for that. Like I've gotten like I think 80% of all my clients have gotten from posts I've done on Facebook groups for free. So for me, that is a way more like successful approach, at least again in my case and for my service. And going back to the fact of products, like if for products you do have like a wider market and you have a website and you are able to, you know, like ship your products, like it's a different story. And I guess in those cases, it could be more worthwhile because you have a bigger chunk of the market that you can cover, at least in like location and all of that. So I feel like it does depend. The one I haven't tested out is like Google for like the clicks. I've gone super, super, super organic from the beginning. Even like on Google, I just try to do my SEO as best as I can and try to kind of like get bumped. I do focus a lot on like reviews in that sense to kind of like get that either like that bump in terms of like SEO, but I think like at the same time it's just how we communicate trust for our clients. So I've been focusing more on like really gathering reviews from my clients and making sure like my clients are happy. So there are like a lot of them. I don't even have to ask them. They just kind of like leave a review for us. So I think like that is my way to go. Like I've been super organic from the beginning. So I don't think that's a super way. Like I was just telling someone that I rather prefer to invest money to give my clients a super awesome experience and then that makes them wanting to talk about it rather than investing a lot of money in pulling clients and trying to kind of like gather them all. That said, I'm also on a wait list. So for me, it doesn't make sense to like do any like yeah, like I am struggling more in the capacity side rather than in the like really getting like more clients. So yeah, that's in my case, that's the story.
you have the best problem to be having right now for any business.
I know, but that
um,
still feels like a problem. I feel so bad anytime that I just have to add someone to the wait list. And it's like,
Also, when Laura was saying SEO, that's search engine optimization.
oh,
I
yeah.
feel like sometimes people just don't know all this like marketing jargon that we throw out. It's essentially making your website as searchable by Google or whatever search engine, so that you can rank higher on the search engine. So making sure that using like keywords and using alt text for your images and all that stuff. It's really boring. Personally, I don't like
Mhm.
that stuff really boring. It's like the more technical side of marketing. But it's really helpful if you know
Mhm.
at least a little bit of SEO and incorporating that into your website, because it does help a lot if you are a
Mhm.
local service business. But yeah, I haven't tried Google Ads either because it kind of scares me because it's like this beast of a thing with like all these different like analytics and everything and connections.
Mhm.
And so I just don't touch it. But from my understanding, if you want to really scale your business and really, grow, then Google Ads is the way to go. And there are some
Mhm.
people that are really good at doing Google Ads. So I think you can always just enlist someone's help to do it if that's not something that interests you, because I don't know, to me
Mhm.
it's really boring, so I don't want to do it.
I know I'm also very much afraid of like Google Ads. Like I'm just like,
It's a beast.
this, yeah. Like I don't even want to get started into this. So that has been my approach too. Okay, let me see here. So the next one is, do I need to be on every social media platform to be successful? And for this, I'm gonna say a huge no, because like it's so hard for someone. And I think like I've tried, like I was feeling like such a failure for such a long time because I really wanted to do, like, oh, maybe I want to do like YouTube. And right now I have like, I really want to come back to my newsletter, which I think like I really love the idea of having a newsletter and having that opportunity of talking to someone kind of like more directly and when they do expect it and all of that. But I really wanted to do it all to be like on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube and blah, 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 blah. But it gave me a lot of peace of mind. One time I heard someone like saying like, just like choose one and commit to that one. Like if you want to do, like if you are good with Instagram, because again, like we're talking about the fact that we are business owners. So we have like the business side of things, the admin, the clients, the work, and we have like all these hats that we have to wear, that having to wear the hat of like a social media person and having to be on all these things is just like extremely overwhelming. So for me, what I did is just committing. Like the more experience that I had was on Instagram. So in my case, it's like I am gonna commit to Instagram, and that's gonna be it. Again, I have my TikTok just for like the editing and all of that. Now you know, but like in reality, it's just like I know Instagram and I understand Instagram, and that for me is the easiest. So I'm gonna go for that. But like if maybe you are super good on TikTok, or you're super good on like YouTube or whatever you choose, but I feel like just committing to one and really trying to understand that platform, trying to understand what people are expecting from that, how to make your, like really communicate your video, like your value and all of that through that platform. I think it's going to be easier than trying to split yourself into like 20 social media stuff and trying to like chase the carrot, so to speak.
Yeah, 100% agree. Don't spread yourself out too thin because then you're just going to be overwhelmed and you're going to be like, I can't keep up with anything. But
Hmm.
I'm the same. Like, Instagram is my thing I like to use, and I just use TikTok because I create the Instagram reel, I download it, I throw it onto TikTok. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's just simple like that. And I think also thinking about like what platform suits your service or product best. So for me, Instagram makes sense because, again, more service based, and like I don't have to reach everybody. I just have to reach my niche community. Whereas I feel like something like TikTok would be really good for a product based business because you're really reaching a wider audience with TikTok, and TikTok is better at pushing out your videos to more
Hmm.
random people just due to the algorithm. Whereas I feel like Instagram is a little bit more focused on like finding your niche community and your audience. Or like, I don't know, maybe you do educational content or you do like educational workshops. Maybe YouTube is your thing and you could do more long form content. So it really just depends. But yeah, just pick one, stick to it. Maybe if you want to experiment on another one on the side, go ahead, but just hyper focus on one.
Hmm. 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 Totally agree. Okay, so let's do the next one. Do you need insurance and certifications, and how do you explain that value to your clients?
Do you need insurance? Yes. But also, I like, I feel like for a lot of people starting out, it's not the first thing that's on their mind is because they're starting out. And I think everybody should have insurance. I have insurance, you have insurance. It's just safeguarding yourself and your business. Um, and I would like to say get it as soon as possible because you just
Mhm.
never know, and I'm a risk averse person, and I just never know what's gonna
Mhm.
happen, and you can't predict things and, anything could happen. So, yes, get insurance, but I understand if that's something that you might not have at, like, the very top of your list right away. Um, with certifications, look, it's not necessary in this industry because it's unregulated, but there is value to it, I think, because one, I think it's more valuable for other people in our industry rather than for our clients. Because I feel like at this
Mhm.
point in time, our clients don't I don't even think they don't know the difference between the different certifications, and it might help to see a certification on your website as just, like, something they're scrolling through and they're like, "Oh, they're certified. They have, like they're an authority figure in this industry," or whatever, and that could be very valuable to them, but I think, like, picking the right certification and, aligning yourself with the whatever body is giving you that certification is more for, like, us in the
Mhm.
industry. But I also think it's not something you have to make your clients see value in. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's a weird thing to be doing is like sh- trying to demonstrate how valuable it is to have these things to your clients because your clients are going to be the ones that are choosing what they see valuable in you. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm. No, I think like that was the point that I was thinking about of the fact that yeah, like the insurance for once is like it's really peace of mind. Like it's knowing that I am not gonna like I always like I am also a very risk averse human and I just want to make sure that I am covered, that I am not taking any unnecessary risks. So I feel like it's smart for you to protect yourself, protect your body, like making sure that I think like the part of the insurance clients do see that value and I've had clients actually ask about the insurance part. I've never had a client ask me about my certifications. I think like that is absolutely something. I've had other people who want to refer a client to me and they've called me and
Yes.
they asked me about my certification. So I totally agree with the fact that that is more in between us. And I think that could also be of like, okay, like with certification you have that kind of like gives you an idea of like what type of training you do or like the education
Mhm.
background that you have. But I feel like it's not really, I think going back to what I was mentioning about Seth Godin of how he really is like, you should like do the things that like build the business that you want. So like in my case, like having a certification, having my business license, having all these things figure out and in place, that's really kind of like the type of business that I want to run and how I want to be like in business. And then that attracts certain number of people that will be looking for that, looking for a serious business, looking for peace of mind. They worry about their dog, they want to make sure that they are like in competent hands. But I think like it's just gonna filter out the type of people that get interested in you. And I see a lot of people who complain about, oh, well, in a Facebook group, someone's saying, oh, yeah, my daughter wants to get into doggies and wants to walk dogs for like $10 an hour. And I see a lot of businesses who get like, how they are doing that. And it's like, it's okay. Like she's going to pull people who are looking for like, maybe this person doesn't even care who's looking for their dog, you know, like they're very chill or they don't mind about that. And at the end of the day, if that is the person, you don't want that person as a client, right? Like you want someone who actually values your professionalism, like, and your input and like all this the effort that you're putting. So I think like just doing those things are naturally gonna filter out the people that
Mhm.
look for you, and I think like in a very positive way, because then
Yes.
they will be looking for someone with insurance and they're just going to go on your website and see that you do have the things, you have a license, you have all these things, and then they trust you because of that. But you're not going to go ahead and convince the whole world about why a dog walker has to have an insurance and it's just smart, because no, like people who are looking for that will find you, and people who are not looking for that is going to say like, oh, it's too expensive, and they won't even reach out. So I don't think that's, yeah, don't something you have to convince other people it's valuable. Yeah, people will
Yeah.
find it if they do.
I mean, it's the idea of like setting you apart of whether or not you're like a legitimate business or not. And like this is for any industry, right? Like you could be a plumber with a license and certification, or you could be Jim who's across the street who does plumbing and he can come over to your house and fix your faucet, you know?
Mhm,
Like that it's
mhm.
the same thing. Like if your client is willing to trust Jim across the street, then maybe that's not the client for you. And like, I think having all of this stuff, insurance and certification, is just naturally gonna set your also price point a bit higher too, because you
Mm-hmm.
have to invest in all this stuff, which, it's funny because I feel like the higher you set your price point, the more value people see in your services too. So people just attribute money to quality. So it kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're setting yourself up as a legitimate business, and in doing so, people will see more value in it because you have this higher quality of standard. You have your prices set a bit higher. There's more care thought into your services, your products, whatever. So, yeah. Are you legitimate or not?
Yeah, exactly. And going back to like, this is a very, very specific in the terms for us as trainers. I am sure that maybe for like, I don't know, like if you're a groomer, there's a whole nother category. And see if, like for every industry or like specific type of service or product is a whole thing, like products is like, okay, are you doing like treats and like, what are
Mm,
those
mhm.
specifications, right? Like, what does the law like needs you to do and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think like at the end of the day, it's like you do the business that you want to do and be real. Like also don't try to go for like people who want to pay like $10 for like a 1 hour walk if you have insurance and all these things, because it's like you are going for the wrong people, right? Like really align yourself with like the value that you're investing into your business, and you'll find that type of people. But yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna go to the next question. This is a fun one. How personal is too personal online? And I think like this
Oh,
is
I have
such a
thoughts.
this is such an important part, because I feel like we do get those like very confusing thoughts. Like people ask you to like be very personal and vulnerable and say, like kind of like connecting with people, but we do see some people like just oversharing things that yeah, like it just beyond the level of what personal should be. So anyways, okay, Olivia, what do you have to say about that?
Oh, this one really grinds my gears for some reason. I'm There is a fine line, or maybe it's not so
Mhm.
fine. I feel like it's a pretty distinct line.
But for some people, maybe not.
Yeah, but some people, I don't know. I think it goes back to like what I said before about like you want to share some of yourself and be personable and share your uniqueness and your authenticity online. But that doesn't mean sharing your entire life and everything that you're going through. Personally, for me, I think it's nice when I can see like someone's personality come through in their business and see where their values are, what they believe in, what they find funny, like things like that, because that helps me connect with a person. But I don't wanna know all their griefs and their woes and their troubles, because for me, when I'm looking at a business, I don't wanna be sucked into this, like, spiral of, like, negativity or sadness or,
Mhm.
I wanna feel good when I interact with your business, because that's makes
Mhm.
like, personally for me, when I buy into something, I just wanna, like, feel good about buying into it and know that I'm supporting something that's, that aligns with me. But I think for me, I just kinda draw the line at not sharing a lot of my personal life. Like, I don't really share my
Mhm.
relationship with my husband. I don't really talk about, the things I'm, like, personally into, like, my own
Mhm.
interests. Everything is very
Mhm.
strictly like, if I'm sharing something online, it's about either my relationship with my dog, something I'm working with a dog, how my home is set up in relationship to my dog. Like, it's all dog
Mhm.
centered and related. And if it's not related to that, I just don't share it. And that's why I have my own personal like Instagram page or whatever where I can share with my friends and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I don't know, just for me, I don't love the oversharing, but I still want to know what your
Mhm.
personality is online.
Mhm. No, and I think it's yeah, it's the same. And I'm always like trying to figure out when to share and when not to share, because I think like, for example, like I want to say like something like that just happened that you posted, and I feel like that is the type of vulnerability that I like seeing. So like the post that you did about Darwin and her freakouts because you went to
Oh
walk
yeah.
dogs, and then you posted a video of your dog actually freaking out, and you talk about how this is why I am not like a separation anxiety trainer, because like you have to preach and all of these things. And I felt like that is the type of things where you do put yourself out there, because I feel
Yes.
like as a trainer, it's so nerve-wracking to actually share how you don't have the perfect dog and how you are struggling. But at the same time, I feel like that is also what makes people connect with the fact that you're not going to be like this perfect human who's going to come in and like solve all the problems. And that is also aligned with the type of people that you are looking to connect. So I think, like, going back as always, like if you know exactly, like what people you're going for, like that's gonna also define how much is too much, I think. So in my case, I want to say that I think like one of the most vulnerable things that I posted, because I've cried on camera. So I feel like those were like, and it was when I broke my ankle and I
Mhm.
had to cancel my
Mhm.
walks, and I was going through like a big, yeah, it was the most horrible thing that I went through last
Mhm.
year, in terms of like my business and how that affected me. But I feel like at the end of the day, it was still like, it was vulnerability, but still directed to
Yes.
my audience, because it was like informative. Yeah, like I burned my ankle. Yeah, I'm a little bit broken inside. So I am not having my best time. And I think like that's something it's part of like the relationship that I built with like my own audience. But at the same time, it was just like, I didn't keep going on my dwellings and like kind of like week after
Mhm.
week saying I'm so sad and this is it. But like, okay, this is it. And then after that, kind of like jumping back, and that's just kind of like the person who I am. Like I try to focus on like the positives, and like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't know, it's hurting less, or like my leg is looking better, or like, like Olivia is helping me, and focusing more on like how we're gonna continue, instead of like just continue to dwell on the bad things. So I feel like it's good to touch on those things, and accept like we're humans and things happen to us, and that's okay. But like keeping like going back into like, why are people here? And I think it's also balancing out the side of like, you are setting yourself as a professional. And I think like also as a professional, people want reliability, and they want to make sure that you're going to be there for them. So like if I am constantly talking about, like maybe the things that are super hard for me, and kind of like I don't look like someone that people can lean
Mhm.
into, because I am just saying all these things that I am like kind of like I am sad about, or like I am worried about, and all these things. So I feel like that is like always, anytime that you're going to post something, at least that's what I do. It's just like, okay, does that set me up as like kind of like the professional that I want to present myself to? Because if not, yeah, there's a personal account, and you can go into that one and share with your friends and be vulnerable in a different way there, in a more
Mhm.
personal way. But at the end of the day, for your business, you are a professional, and you're trying to set yourself up as a professional. And I think like your level of vulnerability is going to change a lot from your personal account to your business account, just because of that.
That's such a good point you mentioned about, like, how you want to ensure that people can rely on you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I see a lot of people sharing a lot of their own griefs in a very different vulnerable way on their business accounts, and, like, if I saw that as a client, I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know if she's gonna be there for me, on this
Mm-hmm.
day because she's going through something," and then it just makes it a little
Mm-hmm.
bit iffy, and then people might feel like they don't want to bother you because you're going through something really tough, and then you're getting
Mm-hmm.
their feelings involved too, and then it becomes kind of messy, just like the relationship of like your friend doing your
Mm-hmm.
graphics for you. Like you just don't like you just want to keep it very professional and like yes, they are buying into your business and it's a transaction, but you can still be very personable and
Mm-hmm.
very open with people and being authentic without getting into like your personal life. So yeah,
Details of
yeah, there's a difference in being personable and authentic, I think, and people I think confuse that a lot
Mhm,
online when they're sharing stuff about their business. And I think, I don't know, for me, there's a very distinct line of like what I share and what I don't share.
mhm, 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 and it has to have a purpose, I wanna say, like, at
Yeah,
the end
it
of the
really
day,
does
and
have
it's
to have a
just
purpose.
and, like, you really don't want in your business account for people to say, like, "Oh, I feel so sorry for you," because at the end of the day, that is like that maybe your friends can do that and they can give you that
Yes.
support. But you're not want that for your clients who are trusting you with, like, yeah, like, being there, and you are the support for them, so, like, they don't have to be the support
Yes.
for you.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
wanna say that's for friends. So then,
Totally.
okay, it's funny because this one maybe should have been in the beginning, but best areas to focus. Oh, that my English teacher just came back to me because I used to say focus. And he was like, that sounds like fuck. So it's focus.
I love it.
I
I
had
love
that
all your little
throwback.
slip ups.
My jello. Okay. Best areas to focus in the beginning. What worked, didn't work, and pivots.
Oh my gosh.
So I feel like you never stop learning in these things. And as much as, at least in my case, I have been almost 3 years in business, I still feel like it's the beginning. So many times it's like in the very beginning. But I want to say, like, the very, very beginning, I want to say just it's the boring parts of building a business, but all those legalities that we talked about. So, like,
Mm,
what certifications are going to set you apart? The insurance, how much is that going to cost? Like, the business license. So, just because in our case, I think I can talk for both that we really wanted to make a, a business that felt like a real
mm-hmm,
business, like it had
mm-hmm,
to be, like according to the whole thing, and following the law and making sure that you are protecting yourself, protecting, people, and that you are
mm-hmm.
using. And I feel like the certifications, especially in the beginning, are good, even though I've never had a client ask me about, like, oh, which certification is that, or like they've never talked about it. I feel like just when you are setting yourself up, setting your prices, it has to come with a why, like, if like it's not just like setting crazy prices and then you are not adding value to the person.
Mm-hmm.
So at least for me, it was just like all those legalities, like making sure that I am registered, I am, if in terms of taxes and in terms of like my contract, and having all those things very well in place. And then kind of like, okay, based on all of these investments, that's kind of like the price that I'm gonna set up. And I think like this in my case, I started by doing all those things very nice and tidy, and then my prices were like kind of like they weren't like super low, but they weren't really paying for everything that I was investing. So I think like I had to update that as I went along, as I introduced like an online system, which like right now, at least for me, it has been like the best investment, because like I couldn't cope if I didn't have all these things automated, and like I had to spend, I don't know, like 2 hours every Friday sending invoices and things like that. But I think like just having those things, and it's okay to fuck it up in the beginning. At least for me, I always take it as a learning opportunity when I have clients paying like so little in the beginning, and then I was just like, okay, like they just hire me, so I'm not gonna like change their prices. So I take that loss for a while, and then I kind of like I fix my prices for like future clients and things like that. So it's okay to mess up in the beginning, but I think like just having those things in place to make sure that your business is actually solid, that was like the biggest thing for me.
I'm still pretty new at owning my own business. Like, it hasn't even been a year yet for me.
So this is
So
pretty
I feel,
fresh.
yeah, I'm still figuring out a lot of things that work and don't work. I don't know if there's one in particular that I'm like, oh, that definitely didn't work. I shouldn't have done that. I feel like it's always just been like little things that maybe I have to like
Mhm.
rethink and go back on. Um, and I think it's okay to continually assess everything that you're doing, but you also don't wanna do it too much because then you
Mhm.
start changing too much and things get really chaotic and sloppy. Maybe one thing that didn't necessarily work out for me in the way that I thought it was gonna be was, attending, one of the events I did in the summer. Because
Mhm.
for me, I was like, "Oh, I wanna get out in front of people, I wanna do, like, a lot of events and, just, like, meet people face to face," and I'm just like, I went to Barkhouse, right? And I loved the event, like, it was an
Mhm.
amazing event, like, we talked to Justine in one of our earlier episodes, who's one of the founders, of Barkhouse, and I think it's such a wonderfully done event. However, I don't think it was an event catered towards services. For
Mhm.
products, 100%. Like, if you had a product there, you were things were flying off the shelves and you were doing amazing. But for a service like mine, where I was, like, more focused on dog training, I think the clientele that was coming through Bark House was more interested in buying in that moment. And for me,
Mhm.
I just didn't have products per se to be
You
sold
did
on
have
that
your
day.
product, which I feel like
I
it was a
I
good
do.
strategy from you.
I did anticipate something like this happening, so I did invest in getting some I call it my forging pad. It's like a silicone snuffle mat made, and so I brought those with me. So I was able to cover my cost by just selling those. But if I didn't and I just came as a service-based business into this particular market, it probably would have been like a sunk cost for me without any like
Mhm.
return on investment, because I think it was just the matter of the audience coming through and wanting to purchase products rather than be invested in buying into a service. And that has nothing to do with like Barkhouse. They did an amazing job. I cannot speak highly enough of them. I think it just wasn't a good match in terms of what I was offering and what the people were coming for. So I think in the future, if I do plan on doing events, I need to think about, okay, who's the audience that's coming to this event?
Mhm.
And is that going to be suitable for me? And I say this because I feel like I invested a lot of time and money into getting all the things done. Like I got tablecloths made, I got a banner made, I got all these like printouts done. I, had a whole setup for like my table and everything. So there was like a good chunk of investment on my end to be able to get an event like this done, but I don't think it panned out in the way that I was hoping it would. So thinking about
Mhm.
certain things like that for me early on kind of are things that maybe didn't really work out, but I think it's good to at least try some things that you don't,
Mhm.
necessarily really think about doing in the get-go.
Yeah, and I think like for me, something that I learned in my previous job, like in my corporate marketing job, is the concept of iteration, and I think like that has been so valuable for me as I build my business, which is like, okay, you have an idea, put it out in like the easiest way you can do it. Just go ahead, do it, get information, and then from there figure out the rest. So I think like you do have to, like I said, I think like as an entrepreneur, you do have to be willing to make a lot of mistakes in the way
Mhm.
that you operate, just because those mistakes gather information. And at the end of the day, the more information you have about your market, about what works, what doesn't work, I think sometimes we have in our head that it has to work perfectly like the first time, and it may be that you need to do it like 4 times to actually get like whatever you're hoping for out of whichever initiative you start. So I think like just being willing to putting and test out things and see what comes out, and also be aware of like what are you looking to get. So for example, in my case, I also did one market the first year that I started. And it was amazing. Like, it's just so cool to hear people like interact with humans and explain to them what I do. And then I got so much from just that experience of the fact that, like I used to call my walks like enrich walks, which I know that that is kind of like how like everyone like set them out to be, and that the name. But I noticed that people were actually referring to them as interactive walks. So I was like, just by the way that I explained it and then hearing back what they understood, like a
Mhm.
lot of people started saying like interactive walks. So I was just like, okay, so like that maybe communicates better to them what I am doing, because based on what I'm explaining, then that's like the name that comes into their minds. So I started calling it interactive walks because I feel like for people, that's just what it was vibing. And I got that from that event, from like kind of like having that
Mhm.
experience. But I knew from the get go, even when I signed up to be in that event, that I just wanted to bring my concepts out into the world. And I wanted to make like a little experience for people, to introduce different ways to enrich their dogs' lives. And I wasn't looking to do a sale. I wanted to be kind of like just my presence, putting my name out there, putting my colors out there, having this super purple stand, which it was. So I was very happy with that. But I was very aware, like I was never expecting to sell anything. So I knew that my
Mhm.
investment was going to be purely in the name of like PR and putting myself out there. So
Yeah.
I think like in that sense, when you are clear about that, it's not like sometimes the investment is not really like in like money and you see the
Yes.
payback in money as well. Sometimes it's like, okay, like did you get this, or like did you get to connect with someone, and kind of like the
Mhm.
networking and all those things. So it's like just be clear about what's something you can get, like even if you don't sell anything, what is that thing that you're getting just by doing the thing. And then it's not going to be a loss, it's just going to be, oh, okay, this worked, this didn't work, this surprised me, and then you have information and that's it. So I feel like that's how I
Mhm.
take all these changes and pivots.
I think that's a good point because I was thinking that when I went into the markets too. I was like, okay, if I don't sell anything, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world, even though I would love to sell some stuff. um, but I think the connections that I got out of going to that market far surpassed what I was going to get back in terms of like money in my pocket. Like I made connections with
Mhm.
Justine. I got to meet the owners of Wiggly Babies for the first time, and like being able to be in that space with a bunch of like-minded people as well was also like, yeah, that was the return on investment tenfold for me.
Mhm.
But that's such a good point, like having a clear idea of like what you're investing your time into and what you want
Mm.
to get out of that experience or that investment is also a really good way to look at it.
Okay, so what actually brings you clients? Posts, stories, or reels?
Mm.
None of the
Hmm.
above.
I was gonna say the same. I'm like, neither. Neither either of these things.
I honestly, the way that I see like my Instagram, and I mean, I one of my challenges for this year, and one thing that I want to work on is being more able to actually build my Instagram in a way that I am selling. I think like for the longest of times because it's freaking wait list. Like I cannot for the life of me keep up with my capacity and kind of like increase that in a way that I'm continuously kind of like selling my business. I think I've taken the approach of like my Instagram is just for me to showcase my work and
Mhm,
showcase
mhm,
what we do, why it's different, and then just put doggy fun out there. So it's like that has been the goal. But I do want to get to the point where I have like a whole range of like maybe stories or more educational content or promotional stuff where I can like explain about my services. Again, just because I haven't had kind of like that need of like pushing or like selling a lot for me, it
mhm,
hasn't been like that. So for me, as I mentioned before, what has brought 80% of all my clients has been post on Facebook groups. So I feel like in my head, my Instagram just backs up. Like if I put the link of like, if you want to know more, check out like our work on Instagram. That's how I get. But like the actual pulling people and doing the sales part, so to speak, I've done that mostly on like Facebook groups. So like when you're able to post, advertising the service and do
mhm.
that salesy part in those groups, that has been what brings me actual clients. But the posts and all of that, of course, yeah, there's people who now is like, oh, I saw your story and I've been following you for a while and I love what you do. And they end up becoming clients in the long run. I think like I've had that happen, but I think it's like a lot less clients than the ones that come from like those posts in those communities.
I 100% agree, and while you were talking, I pulled up kind of like my analytics from last year because I keep track of everything because data's gonna help you a lot over a longer period of time, and all of last year, I tracked where people came in from, like, where all my clients came in from, and just kind of looking at it very quickly, I had 20% of my clients come through me through Instagram, and that could have been from any which way of Instagram. It could have been stories, it could have been real, it could have been someone sharing something to somebody else, and that's only 20% of my clients coming through Instagram, even though that's my primary platform of sharing all of my content. And a majority of my clients came through either a referral through somebody else, like somebody I know in the industry, whether it be you or another trainer I work with, and word of mouth. So if you're trying to figure out what content you should focus on Instagram to get clients, throw it out the window. It's not it's like not a strategy to use if you want to get more clients through your door. Like you said, I think it's just a way of showing yourself who you are, the work you do, and putting a face to the business. But I don't think it's the primary way a lot of people will get clients.
Yeah, I think like for especially for I think like service businesses, referrals are huge, and I think like
Mhm,
that is also why I focus way more on like making the experience of my clients very awesome and making sure that they are
mhm,
like very satisfied with my work. And I had one client who like for Christmas, for those of you who don't know, I put together a calendar and I kind of like send it by email. And because I was like, I want people to really have that experience of receiving exciting email and something that you actually look forward, that it's for you. So I'm all about like these little experiences and then kind of like opening and having, like a little letter
mhm.
for you and like their present. So I'm huge about that. And one of my clients was telling me, of like, yeah, no, like when we opened it, my daughter was like, this girl has to spend less money on advertising. And I was like, honestly, like I spend like zero money on advertising and I much rather prefer investing it in these things on like just making my service very awesome and like the people who
Mhm,
are part of it to really love every second
mhm,
of being part of Curious Nudes. So for me, I always separate that. Like I prefer not investing on the advertising and just making my services worth sharing because the referrals are the big thing. Like people are looking for trust and you trust more like your neighbor who, oh, I've seen you working with the dog and I've seen the, like the improvement in the dog. So that's why I trust you. So I think like that matters a lot more than like just like when you see something and you decide to buy, like there's not that element of trust, which I feel like nowadays is so important.
mhm. I will say for if you're a product business and you're trying to decide between, what was it, stories, reels, and posts,
Mm-hmm.
stories will really only get pushed out to like a select portion of your followers. So it's not really a way to get new customers through the door. You're
Hmm.
probably better off doing reels, collaborating with other businesses, collaborating with other creators, influencers. I have thoughts about influencers too, because I worked in influencer marketing for a very long time in the beauty industry, no less. So it was a very heavily saturated influencer marketing industry. But yeah, definitely focus on like reels and go on TikTok. Like honestly, TikTok will be so much better for you as a business if you do products and you're able to ship out to other locations, especially if you're able to ship globally or at least into the States, because I feel like that's where a lot of primary um,
Hmm.
like a big customer base is in terms of TikTok followers.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely for services, Instagram's not going to get you a lot of clients.
Mhm. And especially like local business like us, like we are very,
Yeah,
very, very limited in terms of like our service area is just like, yeah, like building those relationships
yeah.
from the ground up, I want to say. Oh, look at this. So interesting. Tips for working with influencers and mutually beneficial relationships. Go ahead, Olivia.
This is definitely one for like product-based businesses, and I don't think it's really like working with influencers for service-based businesses doesn't
Mhm.
really
And
make a
actually,
lot of
this,
sense.
I think this is the bandana business who
Okay.
asked for this question.
Um, Influencer marketing. I have a few thoughts on influencer marketing. It's a tricky one because I think we're in this day and age of influencer marketing where people are just really tired of seeing so much stuff pushed out to them for them to
Mhm.
buy, like this focus on capitalism and like
Mhm.
buy this,
Mhm.
buy that, you need this, and people just want to be de-influenced nowadays.
Mhm.
So I think if I were doing influencer marketing now, my approach would rather be to find really organic content creators or influencers. Like I don't think people want to see people being like, buy my dog treats. They're 20% off with my code blah blah blah. And we like to use this every single day in our bowls or whatever. Like I'd rather much someone like see someone doing it very organically in their content as if it were just a part of their like natural day or their daily routine. And using it that way and sprinkling it in there rather than really pushing it out to people,
Mhm.
because I think people are just so fatigued with buying things, and especially in this economy, man, like people are holding onto their pockets tight. So I think influencer marketing can be done in a really strategic way, especially with, again, community building and building relationships really organically with your influencers, because the more you can make it authentic, the more people are going to buy into it. People don't want to see something that feels like they're just being pushed something because they got paid to
Mm-hmm.
do it or because they got whatever, a cut out of it. But if you're going to do influencer marketing, really look at the person you're working with. Make sure you vibe with them. Do they align with you? Can you guys really build a close relationship? And also being strategic logistically too, right? Like you don't want to pick an
Mm-hmm.
influencer that has like 200 followers. Like they should have
Mm-hmm.
kind of a network built around them already and have a
Mm-hmm.
base to stand on. But yeah.
Hmm. I also want to add that when it comes to like influencers and things like that, a huge thing is that don't go by numbers because if you go by how many
Yes.
followers do they have, like we've seen so many people, like it's so easy to buy followers. Like don't go for that. And I mean, we've seen a few trainers do this themselves, who they just inflate the amount of followers they have, but always look at okay, so like how many followers do they have? And if they're doing a live and there's 6 people watching that live, but they have 12,000 followers, like there is a part
Yeah.
where it's like things are not adding up. So don't go immediately by, oh my God, they have like 12,000 followers or like 15 or 20. It's like, no, like check out the engagement, because sometimes you may have influencers who have like 800 followers, but you can see people are actually commenting on their posts and they are interacting with them. So I feel like it's always good by going for engagement and, like how engaged is this community that they're building, rather than, wow, they have this huge number of followers, but like then their views are like 2,000 views for like 12,000 followers. Like those things don't add up. And then you can really tell like which type of people are just, they are like inflating their numbers and they're not worth your time. And then yeah, like check out, like don't say no to like those smaller accounts, because they could have a way more engaged audience that actually goes and buys the thing. So I just did a post about one of the toys that Murphy's mom gave me, like the little thing that opens, and I saw like so many people are like, yeah, like I'm so interested, and like they that really connected. And I'm like, I have like, I don't know, like I don't think I have over like, I think I'm about to reach 1,600 followers. But it's just like, at least for this
Mhm.
brand, if I'm looking to connect with brands, it's like it makes more sense for me to have someone who actually made something that
Yes.
connected, that they lead to sales. And I just saw like last week that someone posted a video of like, I bought the toy, and like they tagged me because like they saw it on my TikTok. It was on TikTok, and I was just like, this is so cool, like I made a sale and I didn't get anything in return, but it was like very genuine because I genuinely love the toy. So I think like that is really what you want to do. And I think like going back, it's really like make the people who already buy you want to talk about it. And for that, I will recommend again Seth Godin. He's huge. Like the whole book about Purple Cow is about that, about making a service or making a product worth talking about. So like just if you focus on really nailing that and try to do that the best you can, I think like you're gonna buy yourself influencers for free, if that makes sense, because it's just like they're genuinely interested in talking about it.
That's such a good point about keying in on engagement, because that
Mhm,
is like the
mhm,
most important thing. Like, don't even look at the numbers. And I feel like there is a line, like a balance between the amount of followers they have and the engagement that they're bringing in. But you can look at their page and instantly know if a mass number of their followers are bots or if they were bought into
mhm,
following, versus whether or not they have a really engaged community, because it could be like that for anything. It could be a creator, it could be a business. I know some of the businesses with the most followers sometimes have like the least amount of revenue. And it really
mhm.
just depends on the type of community they have. So don't be deceived by the numbers, and also don't be deceived by the little check mark verification symbol.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I mean, we don't have it, but it's just expensive. But yeah, don't go by
Because you
by
can just
those
buy it
metrics.
now. It's not a thing anymore. You could just pay money to get it. So, whereas before it
Mhm,
wasn't like that. So it's different now.
mhm, mhm. And I refuse to pay for that freaking thing. But okay, that's my own beef with Instagram because it wants to charge me so much for that little like click.
Yeah, it's
Nope.
not happening.
Okay, so the next one, how you navigate adding team members, the struggles, and what you've done to solve them. So I
This
think
is
like
all
for
you.
this,
This is all you.
Olivia has made a pledge of like never hiring. So
I think it's because in my job before this, I did a lot of hiring and firing. So I've been and like managing a big team and managing a small team, and it's tough, man, dealing with different personalities, finding the right people that click with you, that have the same vision as you, that are resourceful and want to do the work. It's hiring, I think, is one of the most difficult things in having a business because you
Mhm,
just need,
mhm,
especially a small business. Like if you're a big corporation, you just need to hire a
mhm,
bunch of employees, whatever, it's fine. But when you're like one person and you need to hire a second person, that person has to be so in line with what you're doing and also be really, really resourceful. Like that is the number one thing. Because if they're not resourceful, they could be doing shit all and you would even know.
mhm.
And it's so hard to figure out until you work with them, until you get to spend that time with them. And by that time, you've invested so much time. So it's difficult because now you got to let them go and have that difficult conversation. Then you got to do it all over again. So you take it away. What are your thoughts?
All of that. All of that. I think like it's so funny because I feel like people can see, and like the fact that I have you, and and at some point I had Marina and I have Abril. Like so I do have a team, but I feel like I've just so far I've managed to build my team like very easily just because I find people who truly connect. But I feel like right now that I am once again trying to look out into the world and trying to bring this person that I don't know. I don't know what they're working on. They can tell you one thing. I've had this experience of hiring someone and turning out to be like the opposite. And that is also a lot of like myself, right? Like and I think it's the whole thing about like personal growth that you have to go through because personally, if I see someone excited because they want to join in my team, somehow I feel like, oh, I need to hire them. They are excited. So it's just like I've had that mistake happen where it's just like something in my gut was just like, this may be, like this may not work. And I've learned that people in interviews, they can tell you whatever you want to hear to get the gig. But then once things are going, they start kind of like showing their true colors. So I think it's like I'm currently in the process of hiring, and I think like because last time that I hired, it was like it was a waste of time, energy, resources. It was so dreading having to fire someone and the whole process of going through that. So I feel like I've been like, I don't want to do this again. I just want to stay with the people that I know, that I trust. But there is only so much you can grow in those situations. So I think like right now I'm giving it another try to see how that goes, trying to learn from my past experiences, trying to be better at filtering people in. But it is hard. And I think especially like for me, at least something that I think about is that I really want someone who can commit long term or like long-ish term because it's not easy finding people. And it's like if I accept clients because I'm gonna have this extra capacity, and then all of a sudden this person goes away, what am I gonna do with all of those clients, right? I don't want my clients to just feel like, oh, you're like the reliability is in the limbo depending on like where I'm at in my business stage. So like that's the part that it's so hard for me to really open my doors to someone,
Mhm.
and I don't like giving them a lot of hours and then feeling like I am vulnerable in that side that I don't want to leave my clients hanging, and at the same time I have to be realistic of how much time I have. So I think it's it's hard. It's very hard. But something that I learned is just really how can I say that? So like just understand what you want to get. And at least for me, one thing that happened last time I hired is that I kind of like was looking for a dog walker. So when people hear the term dog walker, it can mean so many things for so different people. So it can be, oh, my daughter wants to get into that. So like, like she's 18
Always
and
the
she can
daughter
help
who
you.
wants to walk
Yeah.
dogs.
And then it is the mom saying it, not like not the daughter. It's a mom sending you the daughter, and it's just like, well, like that is really not what I'm looking for. Like so, people can see things in a very different way. So something that I changed this time is that I was looking for a beginner dog trainer, because I feel like this job is perfect for someone who's growing in the industry. And I want people to have that fire inside of, like, I feel like once
Mm-hmm.
you find a true dog nerd, there's nothing you can do to stop them from wanting to learn more about dogs and to making the most out of the time with the dog and bringing as much knowledge and as much practice into the job as they can, because they're genuinely interested in growing. Rather, if you have a dog walker who just wants to walk dogs because it's funsies, and then you ask them to, like, oh yeah, like, like, do you want to, like, learn handling and learn these things, and it's just like, oh yeah, but I cannot do that, like like I don't have time to learn about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, like, that's really not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone with that experience and blah blah blah. So it's like just understanding, like, exactly what you're looking for and being very careful and mindful of where you look for that person. Like, one thing I'm changing this time is that I, instead of like using Indeed like last time, which just throws you people from all over the world, I focus on Facebook groups. Surprise, surprise. So I was just like, I want someone from my city, because I want someone who doesn't have to commute, which is going to be easier for me to just give them, maybe start with like one walk one day, and it's very close to their home, so it's like not a biggie, rather than having someone who has to, like, which happened to Olivia when you started like working with me. You had to come all the way from Poco to walk, to do a half-hour walk, which just doesn't make sense. Like, it's more commuting than doggy time. So I learned
Yeah.
that I want someone local, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
Olivia serves for Coquitlam, because that is where you live and you just have to drive like maybe 15 minutes, and that is like the farthest you have to go.
Mm.
But it's very different when you really have to commute a few cities to just go and start slow. So that doesn't make sense. So now I am looking into like my Facebook groups, like my own community, and then at least I filter that part out, and then using my words like smartly in a way that I really capture the attention of the people that are going to connect with what I'm looking for. At least that has been the thing. I'll let you know how it goes. And I hope that I can find someone who is awesome, because I cannot clone Olivia. So that has become clear.
Maybe in
So
like
I really
80
lucked out.
years.
I mean,
um,
technology is moving fast, maybe in less,
yeah.
but until then.
I mean, it's also this idea of like, because you're a small business, you're going to have to find someone that's okay starting out really slow or being okay with a potential pay cut from their current job, or being okay
Hmm.
wearing a lot of hats. And then that's just the nature of a startup or a small business, right? I remember when I first got the job at the cosmetic company I worked with, I was actually interviewing with a lot of different companies at the time. And I actually got an offer from an education center that was paying like 30% more. But I decided to go with the beauty company because I vibed with them better and I could see myself being there longer. So I think it's a matter of like really finding a person that aligns with what you're doing. Um, and also being very transparent about like what it is you're offering and what they can offer back to you. Because if you're in this stage where you're maybe just hiring your second person or your first person, it's going to be in this growth stage, right? Like they're going to have to do a lot of different things and learn a lot of different things and be very
Hmm.
resourceful in their position regardless of what it is. So I think it's just having that transparency, being patient with the process because it's not going to happen right away and it's probably not going to be your first person you're interviewing. And then if you can, getting them to do some exercises before you actually hire them. So seeing if you could
Hmm.
do a trial run of whatever it is you're doing for your business. If you're looking for a marketing person, if you're looking for another walker, maybe do some shadow walks together, see how they handle dogs, how they behave around dogs, because you just don't know until you see them in the environment that you are picturing them being in, essentially.
And I also try, like, the last time I tried hiring, I was in a very vulnerable position, and I think that also played a part where it was when I broke my ankle, so I really wanted
Mm-hmm.
to just get someone ready. Like, I don't have any time to, like, I cannot walk dogs, I cannot do this. So maybe if I hire someone and they help me cover those things, and I don't lose that
Mm-hmm.
much money, and blah 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 blah. So I think like I was coming from a place of like I really need to do that. And I think
Yeah.
like it was also coming from a place where I could see like one of my clients started getting walks from my competition. And I was just like, oh my God, if my competition is getting them, I could have them if they don't mind not being me and blah, 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 blah. So I think like I was just coming in like this rush, really
Right.
trying to force the situation because I was in such a vulnerable position. I think like if I could go back, it's like chill, just heal and be able
Hmm.
to do the whole thing. Because yeah, like I was trying to fit something like so harshly and it's just like this has to work, which I think like at the end of the day is like it doesn't have to work and you're gonna survive. But at least in my case, I was coming from that situation. So just know and try to see like if you are in a very desperate situation, like maybe just take some time, breathe in, and know that getting into hiring is like a whole beast of on its own. So if you are not 100% to like jump into that task, I think it's better to just like take it easy, try to do the best you can with what you have right now, and then jump into that idea whenever you are kind of like more
Hmm.
calm or like the situation is better, because it does require your 100% to really get this person going. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a beast, man.
Hmm. I think that applies more to like hiring an employee versus like a contractor, but I still think either way you go, it is a huge time investment on your part to make sure everything is still how you envision it, because placing everything that's in your head into somebody else's head is not easy, and getting that message across and getting them to really like live and breathe that role is really difficult. So there are
Hmm.
huge differences in hiring an employee versus hiring a contractor, but I think the time investment can be very similar just depending on what role it is you're hiring for. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's a big one.
I know. And whenever, well, hopefully in a year, we'll have more insight for you and say, whoa, this is such a success.
She's
But
got a
so
team
far,
of
it's
like
still,
10 people.
that would be so nice. But so far, I do have to appreciate this. Like, I have Olivia, and like I feel like with Marina, it was also so easy. Like I didn't even have to put in that much work because you two were already doing the thing, kind of like very
Mhm.
naturally. So I think I lucked out. I want to say in the beginnings of me building my team, and it's just like, oh my God, this is easy. But no, it's not as easy. And we actually have our last question. So,
Yay! Oh my god, we did it. I didn't think we were gonna get through them all.
oh my goodness, this is tiring. Okay, and it's a very suiting last question. So it says, like, what would you tell your past self in year one? So this is Olivia in
I'm
year
still
one.
in
So what
year
do you
one.
tell? What are you telling yourself today?
What would I tell myself right now? What would I tell myself? Do you have something that you would tell yourself in year 1? Because 'Cause you've been, like, 2 years away from year 1.
I think, and this is something that I'm still reminding myself constantly, because I do hang out with people who have businesses way longer than me, and that is something they continue to tell me, which is like things are not happening right away, like are not gonna happen right away. So I feel like just remembering that, because it's so easy to, at least like you have this idea and this vision and you want it to happen and you want it to happen all in 1 month. At least that's how my brain works. I always, if I have an idea, it's just like I have to do it like right away, especially if I don't know, like if I ever tease about it or if I mention something about it, I feel like I have to have it ready in a month, or it's like I am a loser and like nothing works and I am losing my path. So I think like for me, that is a huge thing, like constantly reminding myself that everything takes time and you're not gonna have like, if I go back, I have so many moments where it's just like, I remember when I had just like, I don't know, I didn't have any clients and I didn't even launch and I
Mhm.
was all in that prep and I was feeling so sorry for myself because maybe no one's gonna like my business. Then I did launch and I had 4 clients, and then I was crying because I only have 4 clients, and I was freaking out because I did one post and it didn't work. Like no one hired me. So I was like, maybe I lost my touch and I'm never gonna get. I do like that constant drama of like I try something and then I cry about it because I
Yeah.
just have 4 clients, and then I have
Yeah.
10 clients and it's just like I just have 10 clients. And it's just like that constantly like just focusing on all the things that you don't have and that I am not fully booked. And then I was fully booked and now I'm crying because I cannot keep up with my capacity and I cannot grow my team. So it's just like that whole thing. So it's just like always coming back and reminding myself that things take time And I
Mhm.
always love like hang out with people who have way more years than you because they are the ones who keep me humble when they're like, okay, like, I'm crying because I invested so much money in my system and I am investing in this new thing. And, I've been investing so much money into my business. And then they look around, they turn their cameras and they show me all the inventory that they have, that they bought and they never used, and all the boxes that they bought that now they're not using. And it's just like, that is all of our waste in like 8 years in business. So like chill. You're
Yeah,
gonna keep
yeah,
doing these mistakes and you are gonna waste more money and you're gonna need to invest way more money before you reach that dream of your business that you have. So that's what I come back and say, like, oh dear baby, you're gonna invest so much more money and you're gonna waste so much more time and so much more resources. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's just reminding yourself that it's not a waste. If you learn something from it, it's not
yes,
a waste. So it's going
yeah,
back to get information. At least, like, don't just cry because, oh, I did this and I made this decision and I only had this and the world is horrible. It's like, no, think about all the things that you could have done differently. And if at least you can have that information of like, next time I'm going to try to do it on the weekends, or I'm going to try to do it at this time. And maybe the time where I did it wasn't correct, or maybe the platform where I advertise wasn't the same, right? So there are so many things that you have control of that if you focus on that, you're always gonna get one step ahead, even if you fuck up.
yeah. No, I agree. Like, I feel like owning a business is just constant, like, ups and downs, constant up and downs, and you're just continually screwing up, learning things, pivoting, trying to second guessing yourself, trying to figure out the next thing, feeling like a failure, feeling like a success. Like, it's just a whole lot of emotions rolled into one, and I think you just have to have a lot of grace for yourself and give yourself breaks. Like, in December, I was feeling so shitty about myself because I'm like, "I have no clients, nobody's buying anything, everybody's taking time off Christmas." And then I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna step back. I'm not gonna make any content. I'm just going to live in this moment and be like, that's okay. December's a slow month. We're gonna get him in January, and I'm just gonna take a mental break from all this and, like, just know that there will be those moments where things aren't going perfectly, and maybe you try something like, when you were explaining that story of, like, I made a post and nothing happened and I didn't get any business, like, I feel the exact same way all the time. And, like, maybe you'll spend, like, an hour making a reels or whatever and it
Ugh.
tanks and it does shitty, and then maybe you'll spend 5 minutes making a reel and it does amazing and everybody's talking about it, and you're just like, "I can't pinpoint what it is I'm doing well," and so it's just a roller coaster of emotions, and just live in the moments where you feel like crap and also live in the moments where you feel like a huge success, because that is, I think, the nature of having a business. And there will be big fuck ups, there will be little fuck ups, there will be big successes and little successes, and you just have to really own it all and learn from it all, because that's what's going to make you grow. And I think as long as you're having fun overall doing the process, then you're on a good track. And I think that is success in itself. So yeah, really just be in the moment and feel all the things and don't rush yourself and be patient and trust the process. If you are doing the work, it will happen. So, yeah.
And I love that because I want to say that one of the biggest things that helped me when I was starting and I was feeling all these defeats and feeling, like awkward because you're doing something new. And, like the first times that I had to go and do meet and greets, it was just like, I would like, oh, like I like feel that feeling like
Yeah.
going into the meet
Yeah.
and greet and like, I'm going to meet this person and what am I going to say? And I have all these questions and I have all these things. And it was something I was truly dreading because I was stepping
Yeah.
out of my comfort zone and I had to like meet someone and like convince them to like hire me. And it was just like this whole thing. But I listened to this guy who was saying that whenever like you notice that you're feeling like that, like you're feeling uncomfortable, that you are feeling like insecure, that you're shaking, just remember that that's how you're supposed to be feeling. Like that means you're doing
Hmm.
something new, that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. So just kind of like use that as a signal of like, cool, I'm doing something
Mm.
new. I'm doing something that feels iffy. And that's something that I want to bring back into kind of like identifying those things that I'm trying to run away or like I don't feel fully comfortable in. and then putting myself in situations where I have to do those, because then you acquire new skills. And like, I remember, like now I remember how I used to feel with the meet and greets. And now it feels like I don't even have to look at my questions. I just do it like so second nature. And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's so exciting. And I feel like I am fully, like I am shaking. I'm fully in control because I am confident, because I did like so many meet and greets already that it's just like second nature. So just remember that if you keep at it, it's gonna feel so like whatever. Like I remember also like the first time I had to do my reconciliation and managing like my books and doing all those things. I was just like, I'm gonna fuck it up, and it was like so worried. And now I do it, and I'm like watching TV while I'm doing it, and it's just like it's crazy to me how all those things that used to be like had to
Yeah.
require like my full attention, now you can do it while you wash the dishes or whatever. So like just if you keep at it, you're gonna get to that point. Like it's gonna happen naturally. So just don't
Mhm.
run away from those feelings of this feels awkward and this feels like wrong and I feel insecure, because that's how you're supposed to be feeling if you want to grow your business.
Yeah, I know. Ricky, my husband, always says to me whenever I have like nerves or like I'm like anxious about something and doing something new, he's like, "What's the worst that can happen? They think you're dumb, you fuck it up, and then what?" And that like that's it. You're still gonna live. The day is gonna go on. They're gonna forget about it in like a day's time. Like it's not a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like if it's you're trying something new and you're just so filled with like anxiety and you're nervous about it, because I used to feel the same way about doing discovery calls. I used to do a lot of discovery calls in the job I did before I started dog training, and I remember the first few I did, I was like sweating. I had this like ball of nerves in my stomach. I think it's that like millennial anxiety about like being on the phone or something. And like, I need a script. I know what I need to know what I'm going to say. What if he asks me this question? I need to know what I'm going to say after that. Like, I need to know all the answers. And like the first 10 times I did it, they were absolute shit. Like, they were garbage phone calls, but you learn over time how to navigate things and what and how things are like going and how to comprehend thoughts and questions and how to answer them clearly. So I think you just have to go through that process of like feeling really uncomfortable until it feels
Mhm.
more natural to you. And that I think that's just part of life generally. Like doing
Mhm.
anything new is
Mhm.
uncomfortable. So yeah, I felt, yeah,
Mhm.
doing the discovery calls for me was the same thing. And now I'm just like, oh, hello.
Like you're so good at it, so like it's good. And I think like I saw that, I don't know, I was watching the Taylor Swift like documentary of
Yes,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
Eras tour, and she talks about like how for her like muscle memory is the beginnings of like brain atrophy.
Right.
So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
anytime that you are just like doing things so naturally and you don't have that factor of like you're doing something that you don't know how it's gonna end and you're not doing, you know, like that extra, I feel like that is a signal, you know, like you will constantly need to look for
Hmm.
those things where you push yourself out of the
Yeah.
comfort zone, because that's how you keep growing. If you get to the point where like everything is the same, everything's so natural, like everything's easy, like it's cool. It feels like super comfortable, but at the same time, you are not gonna keep growing. And I feel like at the end of the day, I do believe that we start these businesses because we have that need of like that's kind of like the excuse for continually like growing. So I feel like we're here to do that, you know, like we're here to these fuck ups, like we were saying with Justine. If not, you just get a job and you just do the job. And even at a job, you have these jobs that, oh, you may be taking like the time that I got hired for like the doggy daycare. I didn't know anything about dogs, but I was pushing myself outside. I was
Hmm.
willing to be the ignorant person in the room. So I think like that is how you have to kind of like just have that mindset. And if you're listening and you want your business, I guess you have that mindset, you know, like you want that. So just lean into that discomfort and things will happen.
It's all gonna work out. Just trust the process,
Hmm.
trust the work that you're doing. It's gonna be okay.
But remember that takes time. I'm still remembering that myself.
Everything takes time. You have to have a lot of patience doing this, like running your
Hmm.
own business.
No, a lot.
Um, yes. Well, oh my
But
gosh, I think
yeah.
this takes the cake for the longest episode we've ever recorded.
think we continually tell ourselves that. Like every episode is like, whoa, this is the longest one.
I really do think this is the longest, though. I think we're at like
Yeah.
2 hours. That's crazy. Well, this is going to be a fun one for you guys.
And it's gonna be a fun one to edit too. So like I'm just gonna kind of like toss like, look at all the questions that we answer. Like it's just gonna go like but
But
it was
yeah.
fun. It was just fun getting all those thoughts out. And I think like our plan is to really make this in a way that if you have specific questions, you can really go and kind of like just see the show notes and go into like the question that you want answer to. And hopefully you want to listen to the whole thing because, it's good
Mhm.
to just chat with us and feel like we're all having a little chatty together.
I feel like we should do one of these every season so that it's like new questions come because there's so much we could talk about and just like
Mhm.
babble on about.
And I think we could even like go back to some of these questions and I
Yeah.
with the hiring thing of like, okay, where am I at 6 months later? So yeah, we should do
Yeah.
this a thing.
Well, hopefully it was helpful to you guys in some way or another. And this is all just from our experience and kind of like what we've been through. But I'm sure as time goes, our answers will change and things will change because the world is ever changing, especially in social media and marketing and all the new things that are coming
Mhm.
out. So we'll definitely have to do a follow up one to this one and let you know our new thoughts.
But so far I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, like comment anything, like if anything resonated, if anything has been different for you, if you do have a business and maybe try something different, maybe you managed to conquer the beast of Google ads that we don't know about, like share it with you because we also want to learn, right? Like it's just like, right, we're sharing our experience, but like if you know more than we do, like share it. Like we want to
Yeah,
hear from
please
you. We
do.
also want to learn.
Yeah, we don't know everything, okay? Like, this is just our little experience of the things that we've done, but we're always learning and we always want to know more. And I still don't think I would get into Google Ads, though. It just scares me too much.
Who needs that?
Not for right now, at least. Not something I want to get
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, no.
thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Very proper. I love that. Goodbye.